Here's Pastor Bob Hoekstra on the importance of having an eternal perspective when facing trials.
Haven't you known saints? They just go through impossible things. But there's a sweetness on their countenance, a peace in their heart. Why? They're looking to eternal things. They're looking to the Lord. Hey, what can God do in this? What does God want to teach me? How does God want to use me? God is faithful. He's not forsaken me. Somehow, He can cause all of this to work together for good. Looking at the promises of God, the character of God, the destiny of God's people. That person is having their momentary light afflictions produce for them an eternal weight of glory.
The Bible likens the Christian to an earthen vessel, a clay pot, if you will. One of the things about an earthen vessel is that they're weak and vulnerable. Yet the Lord can use that weakness, which becomes very evident in a trial. Today on Living in Christ with Pastor Bob Hoekstra, we'll see how. We'll be encouraged to not waste our trials as we make our way over to 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 17 and 18. Here's Pastor Bob reminding us of God's desire that we can have an abundant entry into His kingdom through the trials we face.
He's always calling us to Him. His desire is that we enter into a full entrance into the everlasting kingdom, an abundant entrance. 1 Corinthians 3 says some will get in, as we'd say, by the skin of their teeth, as through fire. I mean, they're born again, they're saved, but when they come before the judgment seat of Christ, the bema, there's going to be a big bonfire of wood, hay, and stubble. Why? Because the life was mostly of the flesh, by the flesh, and for the flesh. But others will come, and there'll be much gold, silver, precious stones when the fire is put out. Because of all the times they walked in the Spirit, were full of the Spirit, trusted in the Spirit of God, and Jesus was manifested and did a work. And that will bear fruit for eternity, not just for time. I mean, it's so stretching in the mind. It's renewing in the mind to think this way. We're so time-bound. Time is but a little preface to the book that we're now in, which will unfold for eternity. We're just in the preface. And then the new heaven, new earth, we're with the Lord forever. And now relates to then. And now is the time to have an eternal perspective, not a temporal one. Now is the time to prepare for eternity. Not only just the getting in to the gates of glory, but having an eternal weight of glory developed. The Lord wants to enlarge our vessel. David said, I will run the way of your commandments, for you, speaking to God, shall enlarge my heart. The more God enlarges us, the more we're into the things of God. Our spiritual capacity enlarged. We're clay pots. Let's turn the phrase a little. We're containers. Some will enter heaven, and their enlargement has come to the size of a thimble. And they'll say, Lord, fill this forever with all the weight of glory it will take. Just fill my vessel with your glory, that I might glorify you, that I might enter into the knowledge of your glory, fellowship with you in intimacy, and serve you for your glory. And He will. And that will bear fruit and glory for God forever. But others will come with a cup, as it were, and ask the same thing. And they had been enlarged here for then. And He will fill it with the weight of glory that it can handle. Others will come with a spiritual bucket, Here's my life, Lord. Here's what you did in my life. For your glory. Fill it with your glory. I want to enter into your glory. Fellowship in your glory. Serve you for your glory. And He will, and they'll have a more enlarged capacity. Some will come with a reservoir. Lord, thank you for what you did. Fill this with all the weight of glory it can handle. And I'll use it for your glory, and enter into the knowledge of your glory, and fellowship in your glory, and serve you for your glory forevermore. That's the kind of imagery here. Our momentary light affliction can be working for us an eternal weight of glory. But there's a very special insight given here. And it relates so much to being earthen vessels that have divine treasure in them. The issue is this. The issue is that not everyone who goes through trials and difficulties will just automatically have it great in glory. Some people say that sometimes. Oh, he suffered so much. Oh, he's going to have such a blessed portion in the everlasting kingdom. Maybe, maybe not. It's not an automatic deal where difficulties and afflictions guarantee an everlasting great capacity of glory. That's not what this teaches. You know how we know that's not what it teaches? Because the very next verse tells us when the momentary light affliction is producing the eternal weight of glory. Verse 18, while we do not look at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen. For the things which are seen are temporary, but the things which are not seen are eternal. Some folks, going through their momentary light affliction of great measure, they spend all their time looking at temporal things, things seen. Oh, these rotten circumstances. Oh, everybody's wrong to me. Oh, I can't stand this. What a bad deal. What bad luck, as though luck had anything to do with the kingdom of heaven. Or why is God doing this against me? Those who go through their trials, looking at self and focusing on circumstance, you know what's happening? When we do that, we're wasting our afflictions. They don't produce any good eternal fruit. They just make us hardened and embittered for the rest of the way home. Earthen vessels in trials dare not trust in, look to, get all caught up in earthly, temporal things. Self-sufficiency. Bad circumstances towards self. Oh, the way others are treating me. On and on and on. We can't. We're just wasting the difficulty. The difficulty is an opportunity to see momentary light affliction producing for us an eternal weight of glory. It's sad. Some people go through great trials and afflictions. I had a dear aunt. We liked her a lot. But her life was consumed with bitterness. Oh, she had many trials. She did have a tough life. But though most of the family knew the Lord, and I don't even know, I was younger, I don't know if she knew the Lord or not, but if she did, she didn't grow in the Lord. She functioned so much in the flesh. She was just bitter, angry, malcontented, griping, complaining all the time. And through the years, her face just got so sad and angry and drawn and wrinkled and worn, and you just see it right on her face. She was wasting her afflictions. They weren't producing anything eternal. They're just producing more anguish, more bitterness, more self-pity, more vengeance in time. On the other hand, haven't you known saints? They just go through impossible things. But there's a sweetness on their countenance, a peace in their heart. Why? They're looking to eternal things. They're looking to the Lord. Hey, what can God do in this? What does God want to teach me? How does God want to use me? God is faithful. He's still with me. He's not forsaken me. Somehow, He can cause all of this to work together for good, looking at the promises of God, the character of God, the destiny of God's people. That person is having their momentary light afflictions produce for them an eternal weight of glory. Really, this is a gracious, merciful work of God to do this. To let difficulties in a short span of a finite measure of time produce for us an everlasting capacity to enter into the glory of God that will never end. And all He's asking us to do is just look to Him. Look at things eternal, not temporal. Look at things above, not below. Look at the treasure in the vessel, not at the vessel and the tough deal it's getting. Isn't it amazing how often it comes right back to just Jesus Christ? Those who go through impossibilities and set their heart on the treasure within the vessel, they have their momentary light afflictions producing for them an eternal weight of glory. We are insufficient vessels, but we contain sufficient treasure. We're earthen vessels with heavenly treasure. And God has His process to take us through that magnifies the treasure. And along the way, He has this attitude for us to hold, the dying of Jesus, that Christ might be seen in us. He has this action He carries out on us, putting us in over our head, delivered to death. Same reason, that Jesus might be seen. Not our sufficiency. Oh, He takes us beyond that capacity. And then Christ is seen in and through us. Along the way, that impacts others who watch the process. And the astounding thing is, it can impact us for an eternity with an everlasting, heavy capacity to enter into His glory. What a plan. New covenant servants, we are the most blessed that you could ever imagine. May God give us a vision of this and a heart to count on His sufficiency, the treasure within, and not be counting on, focused on, all caught up in the vessel. It's a waste of life.
You're listening to Living in Christ with Pastor Bob Hoekstra. Today we've listened into a small portion of Bob's series called God's Sufficiency for Godly Living. The entire series is available on CD or DVD. To get that, just call and ask for God's Sufficiency for Godly Living. We can be reached toll-free at 877-600-LICM. That's 877-600-5426. And feel free to share what the Lord is doing in your life. We'd love to hear that. Here's where to write. Living in Christ, Box 2848, Costa Mesa, California, 92628. Or again, call toll-free 877-600-LICM. Did you know you can order resource materials online from us? Discover more about Living in Christ Ministries as well. We also house many of Bob's messages there for you, including our present series. Download as many as you'd like at no charge. Our website is located at livinginchrist.org. Again, livinginchrist.org. One resource that comes to mind is an evangelistic book called What Must I Do to Be Saved? Written by Bob's father, Chaplain Ray Hoekstra. What must I do to be saved is a question in the hearts of millions of people, maybe even your own. Well, rest assured, the Bible does answer that for us. The book will lead you to the answer, and you can order it online at livinginchrist.org. Again, look for What Must I Do to Be Saved? Or call 877-600-LICM. Well, that'll do it for today's Living in Christ. May the Lord richly bless you and encourage you as you live by His resources and depend on His grace.